This is a GK Media podcast.
This podcast is part of the GK Media Studios Creators Network, helping people tell their stories. Become a storyteller today and learn about our podcaster network at gkmediastudios.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Wellth Talks, but indeed a new edition because, as you know, over the last few weeks, Niall, Leyden and myself, we've been focusing on 4 pillars: family, wealth, health and business. And we are proud to step up and become bigger with the show because we've heard so much of your feedback over the last number of weeks, how much value you've gotten from the episodes each and every Friday, how much motivation, buzz, even just awareness, the practical thinking and knowledge that we brought to the table for you. So we decided to go bigger and better. And we're delighted to say that, I'm proud to say that Pádraic Ó Máille of Smácht has joined Niall and myself here on Wellth Talks. And just for people who don't know, Pádraic is basically Ireland's most respected business mentor. He's the founder of Smácht, as I said. He is the country's leading mastermind group leader. And he's going to be a weekly contributor here on Wellth Talks, unless he hates this episode. He says, that's it.
Unless the listeners say
I'm doing positive thinking here. But look, Pádraic's a trusted voice. He is the author of 3 best-selling books, transformational coach. He's done so much for so many big business leaders in Ireland and abroad. And it's just fantastic to have you joining us on Wellth Talk. So you're very welcome, Pádraic.
Thank you very much, Garry. Great pleasure, Niall, to be here.
Massive. Great to have you, Pádraic. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
So for those who don't know, just to kind of give a little bit of clarity, I'm Garry Kelly, the founder of GK Media, host of Garry Talks. And there's a script written out here for me of what to say, and it feels like I'm blowing my own trumpet. But yeah, we've won loads of awards and we've ranked really well with Garry Talks in the charts. But Niall is a multi-award winning wealth consultant, founder of Atlantic Wealth Management, and recently recognized as Ireland's Wealth Management Consultant of the Year, which is fantastic. A trusted partner to entrepreneurs, families navigating life, legacy and long-term clarity. And Pádraic, as I said, founder of Smácht, Ireland's largest mastermind group, mentor, speaker, author, one of Ireland's most influential thinkers on business, leadership and discipline. And the reason why, and I'll let the lads talk in a minute, the reason why we had numerous discussions on this, but the reason why we came together to do this show and kind of go harder and make that extra improvement on Wellth Talks is we want to give something back.
Yeah.
You know, we've all been working in business for decades. We know various people, we've worked with various business leaders, and we know that there is a gap out there in the sense of entrepreneurial loneliness. But there are people out there who they feel there's nothing out there that is a voice for them, a source of comfort, a resource as such. So we want to talk about our experiences in business and in life, tell our stories to hopefully help others out there in business. So, Pádraic, talk to us about, in your opinion, the mission of why we're gathering here today and will be each and every Friday.
Yeah, after doing a lot of preparation on this, Garry, it's just come to me. And I listened to your fabulous introduction there. I read a book, Niall, you would know it. It came from the insurance business called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. And the book is probably 50 years old. It was written by a guy called Frank Bettger. And one of the things, Bettger was a great baseball player and he broke a finger and he had to give up on it. And he took up the business of selling life insurance. And he was a disaster at it. Absolutely. For about 5 months, he was going nowhere. And he went in one Saturday to clean up his desk and give it all in. And the president of the corporation was there. And he asked him, what's the story? And he said, I'm giving it up. And there were 2 bits of advice. One of them was to increase your level of success, double your level of enthusiasm. Double your level of enthusiasm. And Bettger said, but how can I be enthusiastic? He said, I'm as low. He said, everything has gone wrong. He said, I was used to a great baseball career. And effectively it was, you got to fake it. You've got to act enthusiastic. And, you know, we were just having, Niall and I were having a chat about, this is in the week following Kerry and Donegal, you know. Why was it Kerry were so good? They were enthusiastic. Enthusiasm derives from the Greek word enthusiasm, which means to breathe fire into. And what I love about the three of us, and what really attracted me to it, and the purpose of what we're about, is to help the entrepreneurs and the business people of Ireland get some enthusiasm. Because enthusiasm lifts all boats, yeah? And you can talk negativity till the cows come home. And sometimes people say, but yeah, that's all kind of American stuff, if you like. Enthusiasm is really important, Garry. And I think that's what our mission is going to be, is to share examples of enthusiasm that can lift people up. Because Betcher wouldn't, incidentally, the story was he became the biggest insurance salesperson of all time. But the story was, if he didn't get that little tip on enthusiasm, we don't know where he would have ended up.
Yeah.
So I'd love to think that we could do the same thing, yeah?
Yeah, well, it's very much that thing. You have to be passionate about what you're selling, because the buyer, if they don't see you passionate about it, how can you get them excited? So enthusiasm and passion is so important in business. Niall, I mean, you're one who's really into purpose, you know, and it's even one of the 3 Ps that you always talk about, you know, purpose, plan, portfolio. I don't know, is that in the right order?
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, it's exactly that.
But purpose is very, very important to you, and you only like to align yourself with something that has purpose. What's the meaning for you, do you think, in us coming together?
I think, look, at first and foremost, Pádraic, a massive, massive, massive welcome. It's just, it's nearly, you know, it's very much a dream becoming a reality. You know, I look at Smácht, I look at what we do in Smácht, and Pádraic being a mastermind and a mentor and a friend and a confidant, not just to us both, but companies and businesses and entrepreneurs that we're dealing with all over the country. And I mean, your energy is infectious, your knowledge, your enthusiasm. And, you know, I go back to our Smácht session down in Ballyvaughan. It was a spectacular day back in August of 2024. I think we had maybe 35, 40 people in the auditorium, and we were all asked to get up and present in terms of getting out of our comfort zone and setting audacious goals. And as James Clear said, you know, the systems and all of that. So it was on that day and that moment that in my own mind, we talked about maybe collaborating and giving back and talking, because we've seen the swings and the roundabouts, the ups and the downs in business. And it's not always good days. There's also bad days. And I think, you know, together everyone achieves more. And Smácht has transformed my life, my family's life, our business, Atlantic Wellth. And, you know, it's exactly just that. I mean, we're 3 brilliant friends. We've learned a lot in business. We have 3 complementary businesses. And, I'm hugely excited about today, 2 becoming 3. And, you know, for me, it's about slowing down to speed up. And it's everything Pádraic talks about in our fortnightly meetings and our quarterly get-togethers. And in our last 10 episodes, you know, the response has been phenomenal. But that book that we've all read, this is going to bring Wellth Talks, I think, from good to great. So, that's brilliant, Pádraic. Really, really delighted to have you on board. Excellent. So, that's really, I mean...
You mentioned Ballyvaughan, that you were down there for Smácht More, which is one of the big annual... Well, there's 4 of them during the year. One of the big quarterly events of Smácht Group that Pádraic runs. And everyone had to stand up and say something that took them out of their comfort zone. Okay? And you wanted to give something back, but go out of your comfort zone at the same time. And for you, it was getting involved in doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Which is ironic, because look at the amount of podcasts you've hosted and featured on over the last 12 months. And it has had that ripple effect to giving back. And you've seen that from the feedback that we have gotten from people.
It's quite remarkable. It's an emotive one for me, because I was at a crossroads in my life. I mean, I'm 50 next year, and, you know, there came a time during COVID when there was a pause. I kind of looked at Mark and Michelle and Brent and the business and the family and the clients, and I said something had to change. So we talk in Smácht and have done for many years around, you know, business, health, family, and the importance of, you know, sharing. So, Pádraic, you asked us all to stand up, but there were a couple of orators here in front of me, Sylvie Neal in there, and Margaret Cox and Larissa, and there was, you know, just wonderful people. And quite frankly, I thought out of my comfort zone, and, you know, we were kind of 6 months into the Atlantic Wellth journey, and business was thankfully flying and still is, and family for me is 1, 2, and 3, but my health had deteriorated. So that was, you know, causing me some anxiety, because, you know, if you're not feeling good about yourself, you know, the energy doesn't flow. And So the question I was asked, and I hadn't prepped, what are you going to do? And the one thing I'd always wanted to do, Dad was a good speaker, you're a good orator, was, share ours. It's never about me, because as Dad said the day we got married, there's no I and we. Get up and, share your experience. So I said I'd do a podcast, and 2 weeks later I got a call from London and the 10 Commandments, and
then we met, ironically, a couple of weeks later for the first time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the law of the universe, tapping into a different frequency. Yeah. And you're responsible for a lot of this.
And it's this idea of giving back as well. I think it's so important in business that you realize that your role when you have a business is to give. It's not about taking. And some people think of, I'm doing this to get in money, I'm taking money or whatever. We are servants in different industries, but we are ultimately here to serve our customers, our clients, the community, whatever. So it's so important to give, because that's where the real joy comes from. You mightn't get it all 100% back. Sometimes you'll get it, 1,000 times back. But I think if the more people in this world just went out there and just helped and gave or whatever, it would help everyone so much more.
I think you brought up a really interesting one there, Garry, about serving. And it's probably in an Irish context. I don't know if we're the greatest servers in the world. I don't. I was telling you guys before, and I had a cardiac MRI in the Blackrock clinic just last night, and it's a horrible procedure. I hate it. You're put into this tunnel type thing, and I really dread it. And drove up from Clare, 8 o'clock. I had to be there for at 9, and I went in, and I really dreaded it, and I was a bit lost in the corridors and all that. And I met this guy, and he said, are you okay? And I said, I said, I have to do a cardiac MRI. And he said, well, you've met the right person. And he said, my name is King. And I didn't hear him right. And he said, King without the crown. And he had this big infectious laugh. So he had, I don't know what country he was from. I mean that nicely. He wasn't Irish. But within 30 seconds, he had me relaxed. Now that is serving. That is absolutely serving. And he brought me in and he introduced me to a lovely girl called Lucy who was doing the thing. And it's not a nice procedure, but they absolutely served me for a period of about 60 minutes. And I won't say I went away loving the place, but I'll tell you, I would blow about the Blackrock Clinic all over the place. I tell all my clients, I love to tell it on here. And you know what, Garry? I think it's a really good thing that if we believed we were servants, I think it's a really powerful, really powerful. Our role is to serve, And if we do that, it comes back to us in spades. We feel better about ourselves. The people around us feel better about ourselves, and everyone gets a better experience. I think it's a great one.
Yeah. We had a conversation, I think even yesterday, about this, Niall. We were saying it's important to just kind of pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Instead of always just sending an email to a client or asking questions, just actually pick up the phone. How are you? Or say, can I come out and call out to your business next week? See how you're getting on. Because again, we can't see things transactional. You have to, I think, have an interest in the people you're serving, in the people you're working with, and the people you're supporting, helping, whatever it is through your business. And often that phone call can make all the difference. You could get the immediate conversation going. You'll hear by the tone of the voice really how they're doing, because we can always hide behind an email as to what's really going on, or sometimes an email can be misinterpreted. But it's that thing of just going the extra step and actually visiting the business, having the cup of tea, calling around, maybe saying, do you want to swing a few clubs on the golf course or whatever? But yes, we have to serve. It's so important to see ourselves that our purpose is to help and to serve, but also to keep going, that it's enthusiasm as well. It's going that extra step further all the time, rather than sitting back. The emails are quiet, the phone is quiet, the cash flow is going down, and you're getting angrier and angrier and angrier. There's a great line of, not chasing, attracting, but it's just, you have to be positive and be putting out positive messages, but you need to be taking positive action all the time and doing what you love, be passionate about it, but creating conversations.
Sure. Sure, and Garry, I'm going to go back to that book again. You know, it's probably out of print now. How I went from failure to success in selling. I really encourage our listeners to get it. But in that same conversation, I forget the name of the president of the organization, but he said to Frank Betcher, and this is, I think, one line. And I've shared this with you before, Garry, I think, in the podcast, and it's the only sales training course that your listeners will ever need to get. He said to Betcher, he said, show me any person of ordinary ability who will enthusiastically tell their story to 4 or 5 people a day, and I'll show you a success. Now, I'm going to break that down because even though that's only one sentence, there are 5 things. Show me any person of ordinary ability. So what do you need to be successful? You don't need to be a superstar. You don't need to be shooting the lights out. You need ordinary ability. So the next bit is who will enthusiastically. And, you know, the great athletes, I was saying to Niall, I was just amazed at Gavin White, the Kerry captain. The way he came out, he won the ball. He had a point scored within, he'd set up Guinea to score a point in the All-Ireland final the last time. That was pure enthusiasm.
Completely,
now,
yeah.
I can guarantee you, if you spoke to Gavin White before that match, he would tell you he was so nervous, he was so uptight, he was so worried about. We do need a fake enthusiasm, yeah, and we do need to push ourselves out there to do it. So let me go back to my sentence. Show me any person of ordinary ability who will enthusiastically tell their story. And I think that's the big one. I think we've stopped. I think we're brilliant in Ireland at telling stories, but we could be better. And I think in a sense, it's what we 3 are so happy to be doing, are sharing some of our stories to 3 or 4 people a day. Now that's the metrics bit. Niall will understand that. And I'll show you a success. The formula for business success is contained in that one sentence alone. But it's, you know, I think COVID, I loved COVID because I was on the road all my life and it got me off the road and I was able to do stuff on Zoom and it was beautiful. I had a good day's work done by 12 o'clock. I was out walking in the burn with my wife. It was absolutely nirvana. It made us a little bit lazy, I think. And I think it stopped us from that face to face. And at the end of the day, like it or like it not, there is no substitute. It's like the 3 of us meeting here. Yeah. There are no substitute for this energy. It's really powerful. So yeah, I think that the lesson for our listeners is seeing the people, meeting people, whether we like it or not. I think it's brilliant discipline.
Brilliant.
Pádraic has absolutely nailed it there. And we had this conversation. We were for a late night swim yesterday evening at 9:30, heading home. Mark had said, we were visiting a very good friend of mine who I'd just like to wish very well, Sean Gibbons, who unfortunately had a cycling accident in Connemara. So on the way home last night, we had a swim and we were chatting about, you know, there was a client I was dealing with that we sent an email to, and I spoke to him on the phone yesterday. We ended up having an hour-long conversation. This guy's crisscrossing the country, he's very busy and all of that. And Pádraic, your point is so well made. It is just, in all our businesses, it's so easy. This virtual world, hiding behind a screen, Zoom and Teams, it works, it's great, it's fine. It's not that we're resisting it. But everyone has a story to tell. We all, we're built. We're not built to be sitting in offices 24/7.
No. It's pure smough. But there's a great guy called Don Colleran, and Don rang me. My mum passed on just before COVID, 7 years ago. Yeah, and I always put an ad into the Connacht Tribune every year to celebrate her anniversary, and literally, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago, I got a phone call from Don. He wasn't in Smácht and I was very friendly with him. And he said, I'm very sorry about Sal, about my mother. And he said, imagine she's a year dead. And so he rang up almost on a negative thing about my mum's anniversary. And we yacked and we talked for 40 minutes. And he joined Smácht about a month afterwards, and he's now absolutely shooting the lights out. You see Don sign all over Salt Hill. He's got such brilliant houses. But that came from, it's a simple thing that Don does every Friday afternoon. It's a brilliant discipline. He buys the Connacht Tribune, and he gets a bun or a Danish pastry and a cup of tea, and he sits down with the Tribune and he says to his sister Debbie, no phone calls for the next 90 minutes. And he'll go through the paper And as in my mum's case, in the anniversary section, he saw her, and he'll make 4 phone calls. So he rang me up, yeah, and he might send 4 texts. So
the simplicity of it all.
The
That's
simplicity
fabulous.
of it all, yeah.
Absolutely.
Margaret, he texted her one, he says, "You're looking mighty, you're on page 5 of the Tribune." She didn't even know she was on it, you know? And this simple, formal way that he has of connecting with maybe 12 to 16 people every Friday. I think it's marketing personified, so it is. But it's connecting with the people.
Yeah.
And I think it's brilliant. And it's bearing in mind what you're both saying. Yeah.
So I'd say, to wrap it up, I mean, talking about giving back, we're talking about, you know, going out, meeting, if you can, face to face, your customers, your clients, trying to help them, so you're giving back. But also, when you surround yourself with a group, with a peer group, you know, you're giving to them, they're giving to you. And ultimately, it's down to connecting. And we do this, and we love the feedback we get from listeners, because we're making that connection. So our door is open. Get in touch with us as you have been through social media, whether you want to send us a DM on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever suits. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Wellth Talks, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.
Thanks, Garry.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you,
Cheers.
Niall.
Thanks.
Enjoy that.
Cheers, lads.